Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. It's Friday, December the 23rd. Santa's nearly here. It's nearly time, boys. You all excited? Excellent. Hope you are. Now, I'm Tony Haggerty at @Haggerty10 Twitter handle. You know that. And I'm joined today by the three amigos are reassembled again. We like the three amigos pods. They're good. And I'm joined by Sean Martin at Sean Martin 𝘁𝗱𝘆 and the GOAT, or as he's known in his daily rounds, Aidan Macdonald at 𝘁𝗱𝘆. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Not bad, Tony. I don't know how much Aidan liked that yesterday because he was sitting ringside rather than actually getting involved all the time. But
well,
special guest referee, as he used to do.
He was going to win. Yeah, so we don't know if we're having a debate, a discussion, an argument, whatever. We'll just throw it all in the mix and see what comes out. But people seem to enjoy the hour-long format yesterday, which was world record stuff. But hey, indeed, we were enjoying the chat and enjoying the interaction. Aidan was just keeping order, weren't you, Aidan?
Very quiet, Joe.
Not like you. You're usually cold and hard. Is that right? What you were once described as, you know. So
it's Christmas after all, Tony. Do you know what I mean?
Indeed, yes, indeed. Right, ladies and gentlemen, just draw your attention to our deal that we've got. The ticker tape running along the bottom. Subscribe to the Celtic Way to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Got two offers for you: the Merry Christmas deal, the festive deal. It's £1 for 2 months of full access to everything that we write on the website. That's a great deal. Or you can enjoy 25% off for a limited time only of the yearly subscription rate, which takes it down to £26. All you have to do, I tell you every day, is hit a button. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We've got some wonderful stuff already on the website, and we'll have more stuff coming up over the festive period. Something for everybody there, guys, is there not?
Certainly is, Tony. There's 3 things up there this morning, actually.
Indeed.
I'll put the links to them. The links to them are actually already in the description as well. But there's a piece from Alan Morrison, which is kind of looking at the links between Ange Postecoglou's rotation policy and the injury list, and then how it compares to not only last season, but Ronnie Deila, Neil Lennon, Brendan Rodgers era as well, which is really interesting. There is Aidan's piece, which is a newsletter from last night. If you subscribe to that, you'll have read this last night. This is an expanded version, which is ranking all 16 of Celtic's late league goals this season. So any goals between the 76th minute and the end of the game. Aidan's opinion, must say, it's Aidan's opinion, this ranking. So this isn't any sort of scientific method, although there's a few stats thrown in there as well, aren't there, Aidan?
Yeah, there's a few XG stats. But yeah, overall, it was just my kind of thoughts on what I thought were the best goals that have been scored late on from Celtic in the league this season. So no, I really enjoyed doing it. But yes, it is very much an opinion piece with a few stats thrown in.
And last but certainly not least, Tony, you spoke to Paul John Dykes of A Celtic State of Mind about a charity single that you've probably heard about that is storming the charts, Tony, storming the iTunes charts and the download charts. And it's all in aid of St Mary's Church in the Calton, which is Celtic's birthplace.
Indeed, and I spoke to Paul Sheridan of the Wakes, who features in the video, who's actually singing the song. And it was great to speak to the two of them, and two of them were in great form. And
lots of details in it. It was a good read. Lots of details on the motivation, all that.
Yeah, wee emotional tug of the heartstrings. If you want to have a wee read at that, you'll.
The video's in that article as well, and it's a very good video in the church itself and all that as well. So
there's some wonderful stuff there. So we just thought we would highlight that cause, didn't we, Sean? We thought it was a good idea just to do it properly. And we spoke to the two guys, and their quotes are excellent. You know, you're only as good as the people you interview, and the two of them were terrific speaking about it. So that's it. I think Sean just put that link there. You want a nice wee Christmas read, guys? Have a wee read at that. You'll enjoy it, to be fair.
Yep. And on top of that, in the link in the description is we're sitting down with the 𝘁𝗱𝘆 Foundation trustee Claire Murray. Which I've been meaning to talk up more on this, but I keep forgetting. But it has been on the descriptions, and there's been quite a lot of comments and views left on it anyway. But just as you were saying, a wee heartwarmer as you come to Christmas. That is similar as well, and there's an interview with her on the website as well. The 𝘁𝗱𝘆 Foundation kids were back at Parkhead last night as well, I noticed.
Brilliant. Now, Claire was in great form as well. She just seemed so happy talking about the 𝘁𝗱𝘆 Foundation and what they do. So it's good to speak to Claire. So cheers, Claire, for your time as well. Really appreciate it. And cheers to the two Pauls for giving up their time to speak to me about the charity single. It was a worthwhile exercise. I really enjoyed doing it. Now, Aidan, the bandwagon rolls on to St Johnstone tomorrow. Celtic at home, early kick-off, 12:30, Christmas Eve. Where else would you rather be than watching the Leather Belts play a game? Hopefully they can stay at least 9 points ahead, depending on what happens tonight in Dingwall, obviously. But, just hopefully Celtic maintain that breathing space and daylight gap that they have. But they made a wee bit of a meal of it the other night. Sean made heavy work of it the other night, Aidan. But they got the result in the end. I guess this is important. We like performances. We like results too. But results at this minute in time are paramount, aren't they?
They are crucial just to try and maintain this 9-point lead at the moment. Whether what happens tonight and obviously the other game, we don't know. But yeah, it's an important game for Celtic. It's vital that they obviously keep the points ticking over. And, excuse me, they'll be also wanting to probably try and improve on the performance. Obviously, results are paramount, Tony. I do agree with you, but I think after Andrew's comments the other night, that the players will be keen to go into the Christmas period having performed a wee bit better, I would say. But as long as obviously they do need to win, that is the main thing. But I think there'll maybe a wee bit of an extra emphasis from the players to get a bit of a better performance, so the manager doesn't put them in every single day over the Christmas period.
Sean, do you think the Celtic players have had a wee Christmas rollicking?
I do, aye.
The manager after the other night, and bearing in mind his comment saying, there'll be changes.
I don't know if it would have been quite see the clip that went viral during the World Cup when he was the Australia manager.
Yes.
I don't think it would have been quite that level. I think it would have been more that scary teacher, quiet voice type thing. That's just not on, boys. Because as I say, you could tell Joe Hart has just, when he came back out to talk, he'd just been getting an earful. That's been made clear to us and all that kind of stuff. So, and even his post-match comments later on kind of reflect that as well, Joe Hart's, I mean. The hint at a lot of changes, as I say, it's got into my head with the predicted 11s. I've kind of took an early go at it before we hear him talking, just in case he rules out the Ralston out or anything. I'll not be publishing that until later on the day. But he's got into my head with that. I don't know how many changes he's going to make now. So I'm caught like a deer in the headlights. But in terms of actual gameplay and stuff, Alan Woods puts in a comment here saying that the way Andrew was talking the other night, Celtic will be flooding numbers into the box tomorrow now. I would say he kind of was expecting them to do that already. And that was kind of what he was getting at, like the support runs from midfield and the extra bodies in the box weren't getting there in time, which is why he kind of brought it up. So I think they should have been doing that anyway. I think you'll maybe see, Alan's maybe right, you'll maybe see an extra effort to get in there on Saturday. But Kevin Ferrier's already coming in with a prediction, Tony. So you're going 7? Listen, it's been 7 before. So.
Yes, indeed. That is an early shout, Kevin. We'll get to that at some point. Yeah, I do like that kind of school teacher wagging of the finger.
No, that quiet, intimidating, aggressive.
And that kind of, the worst thing you could say is, you've let me down, you've let yourselves down, but you've let them down. That kind of thing, that quiet kind of, and all the players like, oh dear, that kind of thing. I can just imagine that spiel being given out, Aidan, yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a few teachers that spoke the way I did. I can...
Surely not to you, Aidan. They
not to me, of course. Not to me. It was other people around me.
Conscientious, Aidan.
To me, but
I was thinking they wouldn't dare, Tony. They wouldn't dare.
No, of course not. But I think the players will have a bit of a extra incentive to go out there and put on more of a dominant performance, where that is flooding more bodies in the box. I mean, we did see from obviously the goal that 𝘁𝗱𝘆 scored, when the crossing and the decision making from the forwards / the players who are in the box is spot on. It's an effective method, so because it was a very well taken goal. So hopefully there will be more of an incentive for the players to do that.
Sean, it's funny because we've spoken about that before. We've always been advocates of Ralston and 𝘁𝗱𝘆 because they always seem to have that whenever Ralston was firing a ball over like that. 𝘁𝗱𝗆 always seemed to be in the right position because he knew to get it in that area and stuff. We've talked about that, and
that kind of second unit almost to the Liel Abada 𝘁𝗍𝗆 axis and all that. I think it's I think all three are very good together. I suppose we'll come to selection quandaries, but if Ralston's fit, I suspect two of them will start and the other one won't. And the other one being 𝘀𝗂𝗂 for me. I don't know if any of you disagree. Do you think it's time?
Well, I think still probably 𝘀𝗀𝗀. Just the fact he did get his goal the other night, and I thought he was okay. It was a bit of an improved performance. I know we mentioned that sometimes maybe decision making for a few of the crosses he went the wrong way, etc. But I would still have 𝘀𝗀𝗀. Nothing to do with any of the sort of other stuff with 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀. Just based off, I thought he was a bit of an improved performance from 𝘀𝗀𝗀 the other night.
And the manager still praised him, didn't he?
Like
the fact that he missed a chance, but he did talk about the fact that he got in there for his goal, and I think that's what he wanted to see more of, to be fair. And 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀, there's a vortex surrounding 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀 at the minute, isn't there?
Well, what's in an emoji, Tony? What's in an emoji? Because you've got Steve McGrory coming in here saying, what did you guys think about 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀's Instagram post, which is obviously a kind of story post, and it was him coming on. The picture was him coming on as a sub, and then it was a wee sand timer and different things. Now, I don't read too much into these things. Don't know. What do you think, Aidan? Would you reckon?
I would usually tend to not try and read too much into something like this if there hadn't been any sort of, like, I don't want to say links away, that's not the right way to describe it, but rumours with him about like changing agents and that, or other stuff. If it was just a random thing about there'd been no other stories and he was maybe just a wee bit frustrated with not getting game time. Obviously, the fact there is a slight wee bit of background in terms of links to a variety of things. The fact that this then happens, maybe it doesn't really mean that much, and he's just hoping that it's counting down to him getting more minutes on the field. But it just seems a wee bit weird. It was the sort of like, classic like personal trainer post, like a big inspirational countdown. Do you know what I mean? They fire up something with a really bizarre emoji, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to read into it. Obviously, immediately you see online, understandable that people are sort of looking a lot into it. Or does this mean he's unhappy with the man, etc.? Does this mean he's frustrated with his position in the squad? But that's not information that we're privy to. Do you know what I mean? It's purely speculation.
Would you reckon, Tony, as someone like, I don't use Instagram much myself either, to be honest. So as somebody that doesn't necessarily use it that much, do you think that's a wee dig, or are you just, well, it's just a picture? If it was an issue, he probably wouldn't have posted that kind of thing.
Do you know what? Dig or not, do you think it's going to register an 𝘀𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀's Richter scale? Did you strike you like an Instagram man? Do you think he cares?
I suppose we'll see with the squad tomorrow then. But
I just think that no player will dictate any kind of policy via any form of social media. So I just don't think the manager will care a jot about that, to be honest. I don't know what 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀's up to. And you got a wee insight into how the manager feels about social media when he answered the question about Scott Robertson, eh?
Well, I mean that was an actual interview with the papers, I think. But wasn't best pleased, was he?
Running to media, doing things via media, any form of media. So
I think it was the fact that I think, well, this is the way it came across to me anyway, that the way the question was put to him was Scott Robertson was done an interview or whatever the other day saying he thinks probably his time at Celtic's up. I think it was that part where they've obviously not had that conversation.
Yes.
And 𝘀𝗂𝗀𝗀's response was like, well, first of all, I don't think Scott should be going to talk about his future with the papers. Like, basically, the implication there being before he talks about it with me, like that kind of thing. So I think it's fair enough. But the 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀 thing, I mean, I mentioned the NBA and all that yesterday. I'm going to mention that again today. But that is very much a personality-driven sport, basketball, right? And you get superstars and stuff using social media for wee snide comments all the time and things, and people blow it out of proportion and they dive into it. What does it mean? All that kind of stuff. I don't want necessarily football to get like that. And I don't really think that was. I think it was just
cryptic or not, I don't think Ange will care. It's like you will find out in the fullness of time, and whatever game Georgios 𝘀𝗂𝗂𝗀 is playing, I think he's playing then fine. He got 8 minutes the other night. Will he get more minutes against St Johnstone? We'll find out soon enough, won't we?
He likes St Johnstone, likes playing St Johnstone, doesn't he?
He does actually likes a goal against St Johnstone as well, doesn't he?
Hopefully not quite as dramatic as the last time, I should say, against St Johnstone.
No spoiler alerts, Aidan. No spoiler alerts.
Just, I'm just saying.
That might not be a wee hint at his late goal ranking there, guys.
I was just thinking that, that's high up the charts, isn't it? To be fair,
it's in there. It's definitely in there.
I know it's in there because there's a picture of it.
Playing it coy, it's definitely one of the 16. St Johnstone are actually on a really good run of form at the moment. That said, obviously the caveat with everything is Parkhead's a different kettle of fish entirely. But they're on a good run of form. 4 wins and 2 draws in the last 6 games, including obviously beating Rangers 2-1 at McDermott Park. However, and this is where I always think, well, unless you're keeping the door bolted at the back, Celtic will get through. They've only kept a clean sheet once in that winning run or that unbeaten run. So I always see that as a positive for Celtic. Yeah. If a club is on a good run of form, if they're not keeping clean sheets, then Celtic are going to score, is the way I look at it. And if Celtic score, there's a good chance that Celtic are going away with all 3 points. That's just, I think, a rational way to look at it.
Is that scoring from flooding the box, Sean? Is it?
Well, potentially, aye. So, in general, they're on a 7-game winning streak against St Johnstone in all competitions in home or away, and unbeaten since May 2016. But as always with Celtic, see when you put a wee run together, inevitably at some point you give a team a scudding, right? If there's an unbeaten streak here. So the aggregate score is 21-3 in Celtic's favour, which I don't think you'll even be surprised about because there's been a 7-0 in there and all that. But at Parkhead, it's only a 4-game winning streak. Now I say only because it was a draw that kind of interrupted it. But it's actually 13 games unbeaten, and that's since March 2015. So take from that what you will. But I think that in conjunction with, albeit it's an unbeaten run they're on, but they're not keeping clean sheets, to me, when we come to the predicted scores, you'll see what that's done to my psyche for it. So
Aidan, Sean mentioned the word scudding. Do you see another Inverness Clacknacuddin coming up the border for the Saints?
I wouldn't mind that.
They have hit them for 7 recently.
I wouldn't mind that as a wee early Christmas present, to be honest, Tony. But that game, particularly you're referring to, obviously last season, the 7-0 game was definitely one of the most clinical performances under Ange, but one of the most overall dominant as well. Even though they scored 7 in that game, there was lots of chances. I mean, if there was going to be a match last season you were going to hit double digits, it was probably been that one because it was constant. And I think if you were to get something similar tomorrow, that would be absolutely brilliant. But once again, I think the manager will just be looking for a bit of a more improved performance. Maybe it don't necessarily need to be 7 goals, but a few goals and a bit more clinical, a bit more dominant, I think he'll be quite happy.
I mean, the irony here, Sean, is that the 2 games that Celtic have played since they came back, they've been very dominant.
Aye.
In terms of possession and the ball, just been a bit profligate in terms of chances, which has been a kind of running theme, hasn't it? In Europe as well. And, I wrote the piece about we don't want that to afflict the domestic scene, but there's just the murmurings of discontent among supporters as well, isn't there? That, there will come a day when they don't score, like Aidan mentioned at St Mirren or something like that they have the bad day at the office. And
I mean, the European, you're right to call it the European affliction because apart from St Mirren, even though they have still kind of been wasteful in times and creativity's maybe not been quite up there in the league, they've still been winning games at 16 from 17. But European-wise, it did cost them. And you're probably right that at some point, if this continues, this trend, then it probably will cost them points again in the league. The hope is obviously that it comes at a time where it's maybe, if it does cost them points, it's minimal risk or minimal damage. Yeah. So, for instance, not January the 2nd, right away, like that. But then it just could easily start reversing. They might start going through a wee clinical phase as well. Yeah. Ideally starting January 2nd as well. So,
or tomorrow. And the thing about it is as well, and I get that it's hard to play against teams, Aidan, that, we'll call it for want of a better expression, park the bus or have no intention of playing. Aberdeen parked the bus, Livingston parked the bus. Surprisingly, Livingston actually scored with one of their rare forays up the park. But again, it's hard to break that down constantly, isn't it, and play that kind of football, going across side to side. Celtic have enough players in there that you trust that they will break it down, but there are, as I say, going to be days when it's, it just doesn't go your way, the ball doesn't fall for you, you just can't put it in the net. But it's becoming more and more prevalent that teams have no intention of playing Celtic, especially, as I say, especially at Celtic Park, but especially when they're at home as well, as Aberdeen showed last week.
Yeah, particularly at home, it's been a bit of a regular fixture when Celtic have been coming up against these teams. It's probably happened longer, but the first time I remember seeing it happen regularly was under Brendan Rodgers, just in terms of teams parking the bus. Well, I understand why a lot of them do it, but I like to think Celtic will have the quality to break it down in terms of just moving the ball quickly, being able to just open up space, which is what you need to do. And ideally, if you get 1 or 2 goals relatively early, that then allows the game to become a wee bit more open. But I think in terms of Ange, since he's came in, he's came up against that quite a few times. And I know there was some games at the start of last season that was a wee bit of a struggle. I think at home to Livingston is probably a decent example of that, despite them obviously getting a penalty near the end, which they missed. But I think overall, it is something Celtic have did okay against. This season, like Sean was rhyming off the stats there, 16 out of 17 games have won. A good chunk of those games, I might not be able to remember all of them in exact figures of detail, but a good chunk of those games, the opposition will have parked the bus probably for the majority of the match.
Yeah.
It's not unfair to say, and they got there in the end. Yeah, it can sometimes lead to not always the most satisfying games, but I've got plenty of confidence that the players out there on the pitch have got enough quality to break it down, Tony.
Sean, do you agree with that? Michael Ross's comment there?
Aye, it was ever thus, I suppose.
Yeah.
How many years are you be saying this for, Tony? I know that obviously each manager's got their own methods to get round the buses, or through the buses, but essentially it is the problem that faces a Celtic manager more often than not in domestic football, which is why it's so hard to translate not the style of play necessarily, but the way in which you play it to the European stage, where teams won't just do that. So you won't be passing it about. You won't have that kind of within the game arrest defence where you're just kind of passing the ball about trying to probe for a place. You're actually having to properly defend a team that can attack you and coordinated attack you. So I think that's kind of the double-edged sword of Celtic domestic versus European football, because you're trying to play the same game, but fundamentally a lot of the time it can't be the same game because of the opposition. And it's not just the quality; it's the way that they go about it. But no, in general, I take Aidan's point. I think he's right. Michael Ross coming in mentioning the bus thing, just saying it's horrible watching bus after bus every week. The thing is, occasionally a team will have a go, and occasionally they'll get picked off by 5 or 6, and that dissuades other teams from doing it. Yeah. But I would say, unless you're in a place where goal difference is tangibly going to relegate you or something, then why should it make a difference? If you've got a style of play, trust it, put it up against Celtic and try and learn from it if you get beat, rather than totally changing it like the likes of Jim Goodwin did the other day, which is why Aberdeen fans are still raging about it. Seen when they do attack, they are actually quite good. It was at Pittodrie, all that kind of stuff. Now, they might have get beat anyway. They probably would have. The history tells you they probably would have. But there's that aspect of the Celtic Ange Ball in Europe type thing where play your own game, and then if you don't win, learn why you didn't win, try and improve it for the next time, because you know the discrepancy in budget's there anyway. So I think that all plays into it. Speaking of Jim Goodwin, by the way, just as a wee aside, did you see the stuff that came out this morning? We bit, I think the kids call it salty. A wee bit salty from Mr. Goodwin there. I don't know if I'll read a couple out because I've just pulled it up there just in case. I don't know if you've seen it, Aidan, but it was that thing we were talking about the other day when Ange Postecoglou says about opposition coaches, managers, players, media, whatever, lumping Celtic and Rangers together and like almost saying, you know what you expect when you go through to Glasgow, rather than you know what you expect when you go to Parkhead or go to Ibrox or whatever. That kind of thing, because it's two different teams, two different managers, two different sets of players, two different styles. And somebody obviously asked Jim Goodwin about it, and as I say, we bit salty because he said, I'm not sure why anyone would take offence to a remark like that. I think I just made the point that Celtic and Rangers have dominated the league table for years. I don't know the last time anyone out with those two won the league. Is it 37 years? By the way, as an aside, as Aberdeen manager, you probably should know the last time somebody won the league. Maybe you can explain that to Ange and tell him that's what I meant. So again, a wee bit salty.
I'll give Jim Goodwin a clue. The team that won the league out with Celtic Rangers all those years ago played in red and white. and they come from up north. And you can't make any more
Aye,
fuss
so
about
I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Aidan? I just thought it was a wee bit salty, a wee bit.
Yeah, it just seems
bit annoyed.
somebody who's a bit frustrated at the last two games in
Aye.
terms of the results in general. And no wonder after the way Aberdeen defended against Rangers in the last few minutes. But I think I can. I was going to say I can actually understand why he's maybe just a bit annoyed about getting a question like that. But to be honest, Ange was right in what he was saying, because some of the comments from other opposition managers, players, people in the media, etc., that has become a bit of a general thing. I've only really noticed it the last couple of seasons, but I'm sure it's probably went on a bit longer. Just sort of almost having like Celtic and Rangers, almost describing them as like one team at times, as like a justification for not really coming and having a go in terms of tactics. So, but yeah, he always had just frustrated the way the last couple of results have went, to be honest, I think.
Mm-hmm. Tony, I'm just going to throw this one up just as a wee question for you. Well, two things. I'm going to put this one up first. I don't think it is actually Elon Musk tuning in, but we need a convincing win before the derby to get the confidence back. The players seem a bit unsure just now. Do you agree with that, Tony? There's 2 games to do that, if so.
I'm not saying that the players seem unsure. I just think the lack of goals, because normally they're used to playing slick football and scoring goals, and as I say, they've been very dominant. Well, certainly dominant in the first half against Livingston, and dominant for the whole game against Aberdeen. I don't know if that would knock their confidence in any shape or form. I think the manager knows that dominance should have led to more goals, and he's no uncertain terms as he's probably laid down the law on that and said to the players. Because I don't think those players are unsure about anything, because they know, the manager said, they know what to do. They're well drilled, they're well organised, they're well disciplined. Everybody knows their job when they come into the team. And Abada didn't seem unsure coming in from the cold against Aberdeen, and then the other night, did he? He was a starter in both games. So, these are guys that know exactly what their role is in the team, whether they're coming off the bench to make an impact or whether they're starting. So I don't take issue with it. It's your man Elon Musk's opinion, but I wouldn't say that the players are unsure of what to do.
I see where he's coming from. Definitely, obviously, a convincing win does get the kind of creative juices flowing, all that kind of stuff. If you're feeling it, you're feeling it. But at the same time, I'm almost looking at it, and again, I might be searching for a silver lining with the kind of wastefulness. But you'd rather it happened against Livingston in a 2-1 win than happens in January the 2nd, and you've got 2 games here to get the response that 𝘁cie 𝗀𝘆's wanting, which in turn might lead to a convincing big win that the commenter's talking about. But even if it doesn't, we'll give them that boot up the backside that potentially they need ahead of January the 2nd anyway, if they even needed it.
Yeah, and also as well, we touched upon it the other day, players are playing to play. In the January the 2nd game, that's the game they all want to be part of, Aidan. So if ever there was a time to go and impress the managers, it's the next 2 games, isn't it? And go and get a convincing win and tell the manager, can you leave me out for Ibrox? I mean, it's a no-brainer for me if you're a player, and the manager very rarely speaks like that about his team, does he? He's never thrown them under the bus. But there was a wee warning shot over the bow the other night, Aidan, that what was served up, certainly the second half against Livingston, or over the 90 minutes he thought, because he said the performance wasn't acceptable, and I'm sure he'll have told him that.
Yeah, exactly. He was just getting across that he wasn't happy without publicly slaughtering the players too much, which I think probably an effective way to sort of deal with it in the media space like that. I don't think you really get anything from going through the players. Plus, they did win at the end of the day. If they lost or something, if they lost, I still wouldn't personally agree with them, going right through. It's not the way Andrew's style.
They definitely wouldn't have done it if they lost, I don't think.
No.
What, in terms
the loss would have been enough, I think. It would have been, if they did, it would have been behind closed doors. I agree with you. I don't think they'd have done it publicly.
It's just it's just not really been Andrew's style since he came here. I mean, just even think back to his comments after the St Mirren game, which I always feel I refer to quite a lot, even though it's the only league defeat this year. But just is to use it as a just example for domestic stuff, because Celtic have been so good domestically this season. I think his comments after that, he obviously acknowledged that the performance the result, wasn't good enough, but he wasn't, publicly going after any individual players or anything like that. So I think sort of the way he dealt with it was fine. In terms of obviously players playing to get in the team for January 2nd, I'm sure that probably is the case, even if they'll not admit that publicly, or I'm sure the manager won't, because he'll just talk about every individual game. But it's natural they're maybe going to think ahead to that. It's such an important game. If Celtic go into that match 9 points clear and they were to either win or avoid defeat, you're in a really, really good position going forward. So I'm sure all the players will want to be a part of that. It's such an important game. So yeah, at the moment, things are. I know I've seen a few comments there saying the team are 9 points clear and that, important to be confident in that. And I do understand that. It's probably just I just naturally always assume the worst is going to happen. So that's why I'll be like, they need to just not get too carried away. But they are in a strong position domestically. Nobody's going to argue that. But just hopefully the performances can maybe just ramp up a wee bit.
Sean, you started a comment from Steve McGrory here, which is something I touched on yesterday. If you want to flag that up.
Jota?
Yes.
Aye, this might be. I'll give you one spoiler alert in my team, and Jota's not in it. Will be interesting, Steve says, to see if Jota starts tomorrow. He says, love him, but he's not been great the last couple of games, which is exactly what Tony said yesterday. Steve thinks it's too much showboating on Wednesday night. I don't know if it was any more showboating than usual, but it didn't come with the end product, which I think maybe sticks in people's mind, Tony, yours included.
Yeah, and the thing about, I said the other night, he had the beating of Nicky Devlin, but didn't do it often enough. And when he did do it, I'm not too sure if it was showboating per se, but he had no finished product, which is no use beating a man and then not, having an end product to go with it, or being a team player and playing guys in. He can beat guys for fun, Jota. He knows he can do that. So when he has the beating of somebody, he has to make sure that there's a product at the end of that, in my opinion. And the last couple of games, I did say that the Aberdeen game, I mentioned that exact same point. I'm on the same wavelength as Steve as well on that just because and I'd said that there's no stars, but I said personality players, personality alone isn't going to cut it in that team. You have to produce. You can't just be, he plays because he's Jota. Jota has to play because he's bringing his bag of tricks to the table, but with an end product, and Celtic are winning with a style, a flair and a panache that you turn in and say he's an important cog in that machine. We can't drop him. But on the last two performances, I'm like you, Sean. I don't think he'll feature in my team tomorrow. Just to freshen it up and just, as the manager said, there'll be changes. And I think those kind of comments were aimed at possibly guys like Jota, possibly even Matt O'Reilly, who we think the world of. And, I don't know about Kyogo. I think he'll probably...
I'm looking forward to these predicted 11s. I think they might be wildly different from each other.
But I just think, as I say, there's a warning shot over the bow to guys. There ain't no comfort zone here. If you think you can serve that up, and I mentioned that yesterday, no, you won't, because I've got a team here, and I've got a squad of players who are just as capable of coming in and taking your place and performing, as Abada has shown from Pittodrie, the second half of Pittodrie onwards, Aidan.
Yeah, I think in terms of the team tomorrow, once again, without going too much into it, I think there is a chance that maybe Jota might not play, because he has maybe been a wee bit off at the last two games. We know he's quality, but like you said, Tony, it's not all just about personality, getting into the team. It's about consistency. Abada, he's undroppable right now. His contributions the last two games have been superb. Even in the Aberdeen game, as we discussed, he didn't score, but he was excellent. He really should have probably got 1 or 2 assists with the quality of cross he was putting in. So Abada will be in, and I think 𝘁cie𝗱𝘆 as well could start. I don't. Jota, he's going to have a massive role to play between now and the end of the season. There's no doubt in that. But I don't think he could feel too hard done by based off the last two games if he maybe did start on the bench, to be honest.
Right back's the one that there's a few comments about, because we still don't know the situation with Anthony Ralston. And I kind of touched on it yesterday.
Yeah.
But if Stephen Welsh is fit, I'd imagine it'll probably be him, because he has played right back before, albeit not for a while, but not properly for a while, filled in that Scottish Cup semi. But and I said this yesterday as well, that if Welsh is still out and Ralston's out, obviously after Johnston can't play, Juranovic isn't ready yet, I would like to see a B team right back be given the chance, whether it's Ben McPherson or Josh Deedy. I think if not when people are injured and there's nobody else, then when are they going to get a shot? Not just for right back, just in general as well. But so that's something I would say. I suspect Ralston probably will make it, to be honest, but without knowing for sure, that's something that's sticking in the back of my mind. That if there's no other right backs, I'm wanting to see a young player get a nod.
That would be a mirror image of Joey Dawson coming in.
Yeah,
Boxing Day, wouldn't it? He needs must. He kind of went with a striker, didn't he, and brought young Joey Dawson in. So, yeah, I mean, it's fair comment. I still expect Ralston to be fine, to be fair, to be fit.
I mean, he took like 3 different knocks in Wednesday because he was ready to go off at first, and as I say, then rattled in that low drive and then winced because it had obviously hurt him. He took another knock. Was it to his head? No, I can't remember. He took another knock and then obviously went off with one on his back as well. So he took like 3 different knocks.
I think he had to be safe from himself, Aidan, because I think he would have powered through it. And I think the medics have said to him, "Look, just come off." You know what I mean? It's that's this.
Just come off. I've got Greg Taylor to play right back. It's all right.
Is it, to be fair, if he stayed on and he was maybe moving a wee bit gingerly, that could have maybe led to him being slightly out of position or getting beat for a chance that could have led to a goal. So it was the right decision to take him off. We know how sort of like a hard the guy is. Hopefully he'll be okay. Fingers crossed.
I'm going to put a couple up here. One that's just because it made me laugh. It's actually quite cheeky about Jim Goodwin, right enough. But Alan Wood says, "Remember when Goodwin was a baldy thug footballer? Now he is a silver fox milk tray man." I hope my transformation's in the post, Alan. That's all I'll say.
Indeed.
After that, we've got Beach Boys. Tony, I'm going to throw this one to you. He says managers are not interested in entertaining Celtic fans. This is obviously in response to the part in the bus and the tactics and stuff. It's about points. Even 1-0 down, teams are still in the game. Teams can't play their own game against Celtic. They have the ball against other teams. Now, that last part, Tony, I mentioned the other day, in the last 2 seasons, as in last season as a totality and this season to date, outside of Celtic and Rangers, only 2 teams do have the ball more than they don't, and it was Hibs and then Aberdeen. So Aberdeen are the exact example for ditching what you're used to because you're frightened, basically.
Yeah.
Do you disagree? I mean,
I know teams aren't out to entertain and they would want to hang in there for as long as they can, but I get to it. They probably don't expect to get any points off Celtic, do they? Whenever they play them, home or away. So, where's the difference in having a go and playing their brand of football and not adapting to what Celtic do? I mean, Angie said he's got a brand of football and he plays it every week, and they stick to it rigidly, and that's fine. And you can reap rewards from that. It can be successful. So why do managers feel the need to abandon everything else that they do? Because Aberdeen won 6 out of 7 before Celtic played them at Pittodrie.
At Pittodrie, 6 out of 7, 9 out of 10 in all competitions, and just totally ditched what they were used to.
And then he did something that Ange said he couldn't ask his players to do when it came to like Europe. He said, I can't ask them to ditch all that, everything that I've taught them. And I think there's a bit of that with Scottish football managers. I think there's a bit of fear of getting a hiding.
I mean, that's what Beach Boys is saying here. Aberdeen need the ball at their feet, and as I say, they are one of only 2 other clubs outside Celtic and Rangers to actually have the ball more than they don't. But my point is, they ditched it. They never got outplayed. They totally just ditched it, and I can see where Beach Boys is coming from, but I think that makes it worse. This isn't Livingston we're talking about, where that's actually the way they play anyway. Livingston actually probably are better suited. That's maybe why they do not bad against Celtic, all things considered, because they don't necessarily change that much. They maybe go a wee bit more defensive, but they're a defensive team anyway. But with Aberdeen, it was simply a total abandonment of any sort of game plan beyond sit on the 18-yard line and hoof it up into the North Sea, basically. But so
fair enough, and I get where Beach Boys is coming from as well. And I like to think I understand some things about football. That's kind of been around for a wee while, but hey, there you go. Again, I guess that's another question that's up for debate, Sean, or argument, or discussion.
It's not a debate, Tony. It's just fact. It's not a debate.
My knowledge of football.
We've got a nice wee light-hearted comment here. We're wrapping up shortly. We've 40 minutes already, to be honest. But Robert Gibson, Aidan, what's Santa bringing you?
I think a referee jersey.
Fair enough.
Actually, that saved up that one there, 'cause I seen the comment earlier on. So
he's not daft. He's not daft as Aidan.
They don't call him goat for nothing, do they? You know.
I heard he was bringing you a wee copy of Going to Give a Lift Over the Turnstile, mister. But we've got another couple of comments here before we get our score predictions. I can't actually find the one, but it was about Abada, which Aidan, you brought to our attention earlier on. There is a link for Liel Abada that an English Premier League team is monitoring. Did it name them? I can't remember.
Yeah, I believe it was Southampton.
Okay.
It was potential interest.
Yes.
Well,
previous for taking Celtic players.
We're talking about Celtic. You could do a whole podcast on Celtic transfers with Southampton. Very much, mostly a one-way street there. But obviously with Abada's contract situation, he signed a 5-year deal, as far as I believe. So hopefully he's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. We know how important. I feel I always say the same things in these transfer links, but we know how important a player he is. It's not somebody you want to lose. Celtic should be in a strong negotiating position where that's maybe them wanting to extend Abada's deal. Or I think we're quite happy sitting what it is right now because he's still got three and a bit years left or whatever.
2026, he's one of the ones which.
So they've still got a good chunk of time, but regardless, they should be in a good position. But yeah, he's obviously just came back after this break, been absolutely brilliant. Probably one of the most, or if not the most effective player in the first 2 games back. And you start to see links like that. But I guess when it's coming towards January, isn't it? There's always going to be wee things flying about.
Tony, the box ticking thing I like to try and do if it's transfer links and all that. And I don't mean to try and assess if it's true or not, because to be honest, that much, not that it doesn't matter, but it almost doesn't matter for us because we're just discussing it in the abstract. Does it, one, make sense? 2, are you surprised? That kind of thing, rather than this link is firmed up, that kind of thing. That's a different matter. But with Abada, similar to O'Reilly, he ticks a lot of boxes. Age, contract status in terms of he's still down for a few years, so Celtic can ask for more. His stats, his underlying stats. The only thing for an English Premier League club he doesn't tick is the homegrown thing that Matt O'Reilly ticks. Abada, just at the age he's at and everything else, he will go for good money if he continues in this rate. There's no getting away from that. His stats, I mean, when we do the power rankings, invariably he is near the bottom. But that is because of the inconsistency rather than the talent or the quality, because the quality and the talent are there. It's just the consistency aspect of it.
Well, when he brings it together like the other night, he got a 9 from me the other night because he was head and shoulders above anything else on the park the other night by a country mile. But those kind of performances from Abada are too infrequent, aren't they? He's never had like a run of, say, 5 or 6 games where he's played like that. It's always fits and starts, isn't it? You know, and just when you think he maybe needs a spell out, he scores 2 against Rangers, things like that.
Well, exactly,
that kind of stuff, which elevate him again.
Would you imagine there's anything in the headline that Borna Barisic is burnt out after a sub-appearance at a World Cup? Is anything to do with the fact that Liel Abada's hitting form? No?
Couldn't possibly comment on that.
I'm kidding, all that's tongue-fumbling cheeky. But in terms of, like, I pulled a few stats when you mentioned the Abada thing, and that's why I was slightly late as well. Now, everybody knows how good a goal scorer he is for being a winger, right? 24 goals already with Celtic. Could have been 25 the other night if it never got ruled out. He's also got 12 assists though, and as I always do, I look at the minutes played rather than the games played, because sometimes he gets taken off, sometimes he's a sub. For instance, that 45 minutes against Aberdeen, that kind of thing. So he's got 24 goals and 12 assists, so 36 goals. I nearly got that wrong. 36 goals contribution in 52 full 90 minutes, which for a 21-year-old is in a new country as well from last season, hit the ground running. Superb statistically. A winger, exactly, aye. A winger who could, as we've pointed out numerous times since 𝘀𝗶𝘆's first injury spell, could play as a centre forward. Alan Morrison, actually, when he was talking about shot quality and stuff the other week, he kind of likened Liel Abada's profile to someone who he foresees could eventually end up a centre forward if he kind of adapts his game slightly, maybe not bulks up, but do you know what I mean? Like maybe when he matures fully and all that kind of stuff. But even his underlying stats, when you look at per 90 things, like goal contributions per 90, you would automatically think Jota is the gold standard in Scottish football. There is no winger who, remember I said at the tail end of last season, he was going to be the only guy in the league with a double-double.
Yeah.
Double figures for goals, double figures with assists. He's going to do it again this year, I'm convinced of it, in all competitions. But his per 90 goal contributions since he came to Celtic, right? So that last season and this season. And remember, this is Jota, who is wildly consistent, top 3 in our power rankings, all that kind of stuff. His is 0.74 per 90, so that's either a goal or an assist, right? 0.74, so almost one a game. Abada is 0.69. That's that away from it.
Yeah.
So people will be looking at that, scouting reports, all these big clubs, age, contract status, all these underlying stats, his actual stats. I'm not surprised he's getting linked to English Premier League clubs. In fact, I'm surprised it's taken this long before it's kind of reared its head again. Whether it's true or not is a different matter, and I don't think for a minute he's going, but I'm not surprised about it.
Aidan, what we need is Abada to cross it into himself, isn't it?
Aye, if he could just cross it and then somehow get on the end of it, that would be
exactly. That would be the complete player, wouldn't it?
Just in terms of Abada, Sean mentioned it there, in terms of his age is worth pointing out. I mean, he came to Celtic, he was 19,
Still 19 now.
When he signed, then not long after he turned 20. A new player who, I think it was only really the season before in Israel that he'd actually been playing regular football for the first time. That was his sort of first full season he played before he came to Celtic. It wasn't like it was, I know you get young players by the time they're 19, 20, they've maybe completed 3 or 4 seasons or whatever. That wasn't really the case with him.
Mm-hmm.
Come over, new country, etc. He's been excellent. And right at that, I always go back to it, but when he first came in under Ange and Celtic were struggling a bit for players, he was one of the main guys in terms of his contribution. I think he scored the first competitive goal of the Ange year.
Michelin, was it? Michelin? Aye.
Yeah, so and he's kicked on since then. His stats last year were excellent. Yeah, he did dip in and out at times, but his overall stats were much more than probably anybody was expecting him to contribute at the start of the season. The manager mentioned himself that he'd played a lot more just because of the player situation due to injuries, the squad at the time, etc. And then this year his numbers have been really good as well. Obviously, you always remember big moments against Rangers and that. Of course, he's 3 goals against them now, I think, including obviously the one when he nicked in front of Barisic.
Famous one, aye.
But yeah, he's been a brilliant signing, Abada, and hopefully he can stay at the club as long as possible because he's a brilliant player to have. Well, that's somebody that can start the other night and contribute or come off the bench like he did against Aberdeen.
The next step for him, Tony, would be, and this is obviously me being presumptuous, would be translating some of the form into the Champions League, because I did think he kind of struggled in the I know a lot of players you could level that at. Well, maybe not a lot of players, because actually I think Celtic played relatively well in a lot of these games, just never took the chances. But I think Abada, it just wasn't quite there from the Champions League this year. So I think that's his next step, is to make vital contributions in the Champions League like it does in the league.
Like Aidan, that's what says it, impetuosity of youth sometimes, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what you get with younger footballers.
The inconsistency of youth and all that. I still blame that for our power rankings, because this is the benefit and the drawback of the way that we do the power rankings, because it's obviously our detailed player ratings. Mostly yours, sometimes mine. Aidan's done them once or twice, but ultimately it is subjective. It's basically the eye test player of the season. That's what I keep calling it from last year. But the benefit of doing it game by game rather than waiting until after a chunk of games and then just picking the best 10 players is that you can't fool yourself. You can't manufacture it. If you don't think he played well in a game, you can't say that he played well, like that kind of thing. And with Abada, that's what, when I'm looking at it on the spreadsheet, that's what tends to come up. It's like 4-4-4-5-5, 8-8-8, 4-4-4-5-5, like that kind of thing. And it might be because it's a sub-appearance. It might be like the Champions League games where he just didn't play well, or he missed a big chance, didn't play well, that kind of thing. By the way, as an aside, just in case anybody asked, I know they've not, but I'm going to say it anyway. The goal contributions per 90 thing, I also looked up the strikers while I was at it, and since they both arrived, Georgios Giakoumakis is 0.85 goal contributions per 90, and 𝘀𝗶𝘁𝗆 is 0.85 goal contributions per 90. So perfect symmetry, although some would actually say, well, if Giakoumakis is doing that without starting a lot of the time, then what would he do when he starts? So
Well, I think our contributions on this are up there. You know what I mean? I don't know what that would be.
Shucks.
I don't know what that would be in terms of XG and all that, because I don't deal in XG, I deal in reality. But I think we've had a good year, guys, in terms of...
I'm going to CC that comment to Alan Morrison, see what he says.
Yes, indeed, that would be funny. Good to see him work that out. But yeah, it's been a wonderful year, guys. I've enjoyed it. It's been terrific doing the broadcast with you, the Daily Briefings. Hope you guys have enjoyed it well.
Oh, John Hill's got us there. We've not done a score prediction yet. Yep.
Oh, for Ibrox, he's saying for Ibrox.
Oh, for Ibrox, sorry. I never realised the Ibrox was there. We'll do that. We'll be on the
Ibrox, okay. Right. I'm going to bow to the GOAT here and let the GOAT go first. Aidan, you give us your scoreline prediction.
Pleading the fifth, Aidan, you waiting?
I'm not going to be predicting the game at Ibrox, I should say. But for the game against St Johnstone tomorrow, I will go 3-0. 3-0 I'll go for.
3-0. Well, I'm going 4-0, Tony, so I know what you're going.
I'm not going to go 5. You stole my thunder with 4-0, so I'll need to pick something else. I'll say 3-1 then.
You wanted to go 5, I can.
I did want to go 5, but...
we'll get plenty coming in. Paul Martin saying 4-0, same as me, must be something in the name. He also said 3-1.
I wouldn't be surprised with
4-0. Plenty coming in. There's a few comments coming in, Tony, just asking. Well, first of all, I forgot, I'm going to put this up. Kevin Ferrier, here, guys, give Murdo McLeod thoughts and prayers to him and his family, because I don't know if you've seen, but he's back home, Christmas and stuff. He's spent, I think, over 100 days in hospital this year after complications with a heart operation. So, very much so, echo Kevin's sentiments here. Thoughts and prayers with Murdo McLeod and his family, aye?
Yeah, former columnist. I used to go straight Murdo's column. We got close. So, yeah, it's a wonderful man. Great Celtic player as well. And, yeah, wish him and his family all the best. He's a top bloke as well.
I've also got this comment from David Griffiths, said his grandson is going to the game tomorrow with the 𝘁𝗱 Foundation.
Brilliant.
He's very excited, Mona Hoop. So I think your grandson's going to love it. David, you need to let us know how he gets on, but I'm sure he'll love it, because by all accounts, if you watch that 𝘁𝗱 Foundation interview, they've got it where it's what a day out it sounds, in it, Tony.
Yeah, please do, David. Let him come back on and let us know how he gets on. That's something to look forward to. What a treat that'll be for the young boy. So excellent. Really, that's delighted. Magic that.
Obviously, people conscious of the fact that it's Christmas Eve tomorrow. It's a Saturday, so we won't be on. B's wishing us a happy Christmas, or a happy Christmas, as he says. Thanks for all the infotainment this year. I appreciate that comment, especially the info part. We're not just entertainers, Tony, Aidan. But Alan Woods is saying, when are you guys on the Celtic Way back on? Tuesday the 27th, we'll be back on. I'm working. Well, we're all working. Well, actually, Aidan, no, you're off tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm off to
come on.
Come on.
You are working tomorrow.
Part-time supporter.
Me and you are working tomorrow, Tony.
Yeah.
We're both off Christmas Day. I'm on Boxing Day, and we're all back on the 27th. So we'll be back on here on the 27th. So set a wee reminder for that.
Indeed. And we'll just draw your attention to ticker tape one more time before we go. It's the Merry Christmas festive deal. You subscribe to the Celtic Way, supporting top quality journalism. You can enjoy one of two deals. It's £1 for 2 months for full access to everything that's written on the website, or 25% off the yearly price, which takes it down to £26. And all you do is hit that button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. All that remains for the three of us to say to everybody on the Celtic Way community who joins us on a daily basis and who contributes in the comment section is, we hope you have a wonderful Christmas, whatever you're up to with your families or whatever you're doing.
Yep.
Have a great Christmas. Hope Santa's good to you all. And you can come back and see us on Tuesday and tell us all about it.
Right. I hope you all have a great Christmas. Stay safe, stay warm. We'll catch you back here on Tuesday.
Yep, same to you guys. Enjoy.
And thank you guys for your contribution throughout the year and today as well. First class, as always. All right, take it easy, boys.
Cheers.
Have a wonderful day.